Welcome back to the rotator cuff repair series. This video will cover phase 6, which is the timeline of weeks 13 to 16. The goal of this phase of rehab is to maximize your range of motion, strengthen your rotator cuff, increase control of the surgical arm, and also enhance the use of that surgical arm as well. The precautions for lifting in this phase is usually lifted. Usually in this phase is perform the activity as tolerated, or if you have more specific questions about this phase for your specific surgery, I would recommend you to just ask your surgeon or your physical therapist that you're working with. But a lot of times in my experience, when all the rotator cuff repairs that I've worked with in this phase, there's not a whole lot of restrictions. It's just do what you can, and if it hurts, stop. For range of motion exercises, it's going to be the same in the previous phase. So for the range of motion, there are no new range of motion exercises. Just focus on the ones that I've given you in the previous phase. If you need a reference to those exercises in the previous video, I'll just put the link in the description below so you can go back and watch that. In terms of strengthening, some of these are going to be progressed. There's going to be a few new ones, and we're going to go into those in this video. The first strengthening exercises in this phase is banded ER all the way to end range. I know at week 8 we did it only to halfway through external rotation. Here we're actually going to go all the way through, hold it for 10 seconds. 10 times is what you're shooting for. When you're doing this exercise, make sure your elbows are close to your body and then you're rotating out to ensure that you're engaging the rotator cuff. Get the external rotation on the surgical side as far as you can in this phase, because now we're not really trying to protect, we're trying to strengthen. ABC ball and wall is the next exercise. You need a weighted ball. This ball is about 3 pounds. Or you can start with the 2 depending on what you can and cannot do. But essentially you're trying to stabilize your shoulder on the wall through the ball, and you're drawing ABC with this. So the exercise looks like this. So you apply pressure onto the ball and then you're drawing ABC in capital letters. G. You don't have to do ABC. You can do 1 to 100. At the end of the day, what you're just trying to do is you're trying to create dynamic stability of the shoulder by moving it with a weight. Prone wise is going to be the next exercise. This is a replacement and a progression from the prone tees. So the prone tees, you are here, engage, set the shoulder blade, squeeze them up, thumbs pointing up, 10-second holds 10 times. Prone wise, you start up with your arms here, creating capital Y, and then you're just thumbs up, and then you lift. The idea is the same, 10-second holds, 10 times, and then slowly lower. This is the phase where if this is starting to get easy, you'll likely add weight. So you'll probably start with a 1 to 2 pound weight, progressing yourself to 3 to 4 from there. A 4 pound weight with the prone wise is very difficult already. I usually have my folks kind of cap out around 3 pounds, sometimes a little bit higher depending on what they're trying to get back to doing. Around the world is another exercise that's a progression from the previous phase where you were using the band to stretch into your hand to get your hand behind your back. So that was to work on range of motion. This is to work on strengthening into that function. So you take a weighted ball again. This ball was the same one that I used at first. This is about 3 pounds, and you just take it behind your back and then you reach across and you continuously pass through. So what I would do is I typically have people reach all the way through as far as they can with that right arm first, assuming that's the surgical side, and then grab it from the other side. Don't just try to put it through and then catch it early with the other arm. So you want to reach through as far as you can with that right arm and then catch it and then go around all the way through. I typically have people do this for about 30 times. Delt raises 3-way is the next exercise. Very important exercise to strengthen the delt, as the delt is the primary muscle that helps you flex the shoulder and bring it up. So the delt raise 3 ways works the delt in all 3 directions. So you start off with 10 with a capital T, and then going into what we call scaption, also 10 times, and then going into flexion, also 10 times. So this is typically what I have people do, 10, 10, and 10, and I only have them do 1 set of it because there's other exercises that comes after that. So this is usually with weight. I have a 5-pound weight here, but for you, it depends on where you're at. Start with light just to be on the safe side, and if it feels easy, then progress upward from there. Bicep curls is going to be the next exercise. This is a classic exercise to help strengthen the bicep. That is a muscle that's very important because it provides stability to the shoulder as well. So I have about 10-pound weights here. You can start with something lighter depending on where you're at, or you can go a little bit heavier. This is the phase where we're trying to strengthen. So when we're doing this, you want full range of motion. So you want to bend your elbow all the way through and then bring it down all the way, making sure the elbow is straight versus going halfway. That doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. You get about 50% of your bang for your buck for this exercise. You might as well go all the way so you can strengthen the bicep in that entire range. I typically have people do this for 2 sets of 15 or 3 sets of 10, depending on what they can and cannot do. So the next exercise is called PNF D1 D2 Flexion. So it's a really long name, so just stick with the shorter acronym. So the first one we're going to do, it's a series of 2 exercises in one. It's going to be D1 flexion first. So with this, you need a long band like this. It needs to be long enough where you can step on it. Okay. Once you step on it, have half your body forward, your arms backwards, so your palm is facing behind you, and then you bring it up and across. So the starting position is palm is facing back, and when you bring it up, your palm is facing you, but on the opposite, crossing the body on the opposite side. And when you start, there should be tension here on the band already, and then you end with more tension, and you just go through it. 2 sets of 15 is usually what I have people do, or for a total of 30, you can do 3 sets of 10. For D2 flexion, it's going to be opposite. So the band is forward, you're stepping on it here to stabilize it. You start crossing your body first, and then you uncross, but then you end up overhead, and then you bring it back down, you bring it up. 2 sets of 15 for a total of 30. That's what I have people shoot for. That's D2 flexion. Last exercise in this phase is called the Statue of Liberty. This is an exercise that helps promote overhead stability. All you're doing is taking a weight. This is a 3-pound weight. You can start with whatever you feel comfortable with, and you're just bringing it up into shoulder flexion, bringing the arm up as high as you can go. Hold it up there for as long as you can. I typically have people progress up to 5 minutes holding this. We usually start with maybe 30 seconds and then have us do it 5 times, or we start with 2 minutes depending on where people are at, and then have them progress up to 3 times. If this is the first time doing it, this is hard for you, do it without weight. Just have the arm up first and then hold that for a minute and then go for 3 just to start off with. That's all I have for you for the strengthening exercises for phase 6. This is pretty much it for phase 6. The range of motion exercises are from the previous phases. So the next phase is going to be phase 7, which covers 4 months and beyond. And the majority of these exercises are going to be tailored towards returning to recreational sport or returning to competitive sport. Depending on what you're doing, some people don't progress to that phase because they're not really returning to a sport and they just want to get back to life. So a lot of the folks, they just end here around this timeline. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. With these exercises, if you feel sore, please feel free to ice for 10 to 20 minutes. Use that as needed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.